On the evening of December 31st, 1963, a teenage boy named Bob Weir was out roaming the back alleys and streets of Palo Alto, with a few of his buddies looking for some New Year's Eve fun to get into. And as the small group was walking down an alleyway, Bob heard a peculiar yet enticing sound drifting out from one of the back of the shops, specifically Dana Morgan's music shop. And he heard the sound of banjo, and it was coming out of the back of the shop that was located once right here. Now the boys were immediately drawn in by the music, so they stopped and knocked. Moments later, the door creaked open, and a cloud of blue cigarette smoke wafted out. Once the smoke cleared, a figure emerged, and there stood none other than Jerry Garcia, guitar in hand. Now, even though he was only 16 years old, Bob Weir felt comfortable around the older Garcia, who was 5 years his elder. Jerry Garcia was hip, funny, and could walk the walk. But above all else, Bob was enamored with Jerry's guitar playing skills and musical knowledge. And even though Bob came from an affluent family up in Atherton, he would still see the older Garcia playing shows at the top of the tangent, and the two quickly became friends, solidifying their friendship by way of music. And then there was this whole other cat who Garcia knew, who worked right here at Dana Morgan's Music. But he wasn't a teacher. In fact, he was the custodian, and this guy just happened to be a teenage blues prodigy named Ronald Charles McKiernan, more commonly known as Pigpen. See, Pigpen's father, whose name was Cool Breeze, he was a radio disc jockey for the Bay Area's blues and R&B station, and young Ron was immediately drawn into the gritty, soulful music his father played on the air and brought home with him at nights. And Pigpen fell in love with blues artists like Robert Johnson, Lightnin' Hopkins, Elmore James, and the whole Delta blues scene. He also loved another recording artist named Bobby Blue Bland, who recorded the song Pigpen would one day make famous, Turn On Your Love Light. Now let's fast forward to the spring of 1964, when Garcia's friend Bobby Weir suggested that they form their own band together, but not just any band, a jug band. See, the night before, Bobby had been up in Berkeley and had taken in the infamous Jim Kweskin Jug Band's performance, and now he wanted to get in on that jug band action. See, the early 1960s, it saw a renaissance of this old-time jug music spawning from the 1920s and 30s. But it was in 1964 that a guy named Jim Kweskin, well, he made it cool again. This zany up-tempo music is played on washboards, kazoos, and of course, empty jugs, along with more conventional instruments. So the thought of starting a jug band appealed to Garcia, and he went out and recruited his buddy Pigpen from Dana Morgan's to join the group. He also recruited 3 of his other buddies, one who included future Grateful Dead sound engineer Bob Matthews. And I point this out because it's important. Matthews' stint in the band didn't last long, because Matthews didn't have any background training or experience being in a band. And even from a young age, Jerry Garcia was a serious musician who did not mess around. So if you didn't have the chops to keep up with them, then it was good night, Irene. Now, before there was the Grateful Dead, there was Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions. And this 6-person set saw Jerry Garcia playing banjo and kazoo, Pigpen on harmonica and vocals, and Bobby Weir holding it down on the jug. Audio footage of Mother McCree's playing at the top of the tangent, entertaining a packed room, still exists. And it even includes an interview with the band to boot.